Okay, real talk. When you hear me talking about the 1%, what pops into your head? Yachts the size of football fields, some dudes in a tailored suit sipping champagne in his private jet, maybe a mansion with more bathrooms than people? Yeah, me too. But here's a secret that no one really tells you. Managing your money like the 1% that just popped into your head actually has nothing to do with how much you make, but everything to do with what you do with it, because that's the real game. Here's the thing. There are people that make six figures and still live paycheck to paycheck. And then there are people making half of that and are quietly stacking their wealth like it's their side hustle. So if you're one of the millions of people who sit and go, I'll start saving more and taking my investments seriously when I start making some real money, I've got news for you. The 1% that we were just talking about didn't wait to get rich before they started managing their money the way that they do. They start managing their money like pros, and that's how they got rich. And here's the best part. This isn't some exclusive club. These rules aren't locked behind a velvet rope. They work for anyone. So get ready, because today I'm going to walk you through the exact same system that they use. No finance degree required. Because the truth of it all is, it really doesn't matter if you're somebody who washes dishes and makes $15 an hour or somebody who makes $150 a year. The best part is that you can actually start doing this today for yourself. And I promise, no spreadsheets, no complicated budgets or calculations, just a few simple moves that anyone can pull off. So if you're tired of feeling like your money disappears the second you get paid, well, keep watching, because the difference between broke and building wealth is not luck. It's a system, and you're about to learn it. So let's break it down together so you can learn how to manage your money like the 1%. So the first step of this system that the 1% employs actually starts before they spend a single cent that they make. Let's get started talking about exactly what they do before they get started spending and why it actually matters more than the amount that they make. Most people, and trust me, I've been there, treat their paycheck like it's just a pile of money that is meant to be used up, spent to survive until the next one comes around. It hits your account at the end of the month, you pay your rent, swipe for groceries, cover whatever emergency expenses may pop up, then spend what's left over on having some fun. And then maybe, if there's anything left at the end of the month, you save it or invest it. Sound familiar? Well, it's supposed to, because that's the exact system that you and millions of others have been taught. But the thing is, you actually have it backwards. And this is exactly why you and so many other people, even those that are high earners, end up feeling broke. The 1%, they do the opposite. You see, they decide in advance where every single dollar goes before they spend a cent of it. They literally give every dollar a job so that their money can start working for them instead of disappearing into the void. One of the simplest and most effective ways that they do this is with very basic income splitting rule. There are a lot of different variations, but here's a powerful one that you can actually start using right now. Allocate 70% of your paycheck for essentials. I'm talking about groceries, rent, bills, basically all the keep your life going stuff. Then you take 15% and save it for investing. This is the money that gets put to work on growing your future wealth. You also have to remember to save 10% for emergencies, because you gotta have a little cash cushion when your life decides to get spicy. And the remaining 5%, that's your guilt-free fun money. This way you won't feel deprived and binge splurge later on. By splitting your money up front before you spend any of it, you guarantee that you're saving, investing, and protecting yourself every single month. Not just when it's convenient for you. That's the real secret here. The 1% doesn't save if they can. They save because it's all part of the plan. Now that we know what we have to do before we spend a single cent of our money, let's talk about the first thing you should spend on. Let me ask you something. When your paycheck lands, who's the first person that gets paid? Your landlord? Your internet provider? The one subscription you forgot you paid for until it mysteriously took $9.95 from your account? Well, here's who the 1% pays first. Themselves. Now, this doesn't mean they hit Fifth Avenue and go on a shopping spree. It means they automatically take an allocated piece of every dollar they earn before the bills, before the groceries, and move it straight into their investments and savings. It's never an afterthought. It's always the first move they make every single time. Why? Because if you wait until the end of the month or even halfway through, guess what's left over? Nothing. Because no matter who you are, there's always going to be some kind of emergency or treat yourself moment that sneakily eats your cash. But the 1%, they know this, so they just take willpower out of the equation entirely. But how do they do this? They set up automatic transfers the minute that paycheck hits, no matter how much money it is. This way, the money flows straight to savings and investments before they even have a chance to spend it. 1% doesn't rely on motivation, they rely on systems. And here's the real kicker. You don't need to be rich or earning in the top 1% to do this yourself. Even if you can only save $100 at first, just remind yourself that it's about building the habit. Because the second you start treating saving money like a mandatory bill, like rent or your phone plan, your financial future officially stops being an afterthought forever. And that's how the 1% builds so much wealth. Not with lottery winnings or viral business ideas, but by making their future a priority before anyone else gets to touch their money. For the next step, we're going to focus more on the actual investing. But let's clear something up first. The 1% aren't actually here getting rich because they're day trading stocks or betting on the next meme coin to skyrocket. In fact, most of them invest in the laziest, most boring way possible. But that's exactly why it works so well. Because the wealthy understand one key truth. Your money should be working harder than you do. If all your money ever does is sit in a savings account, slowly losing value to inflation, then you're officially working harder than your dollars are. And that's a real problem. The 1% flip that equation. They put their money into investments so that it's constantly multiplying itself literally while they're asleep. And the best part of it all, you don't need to be a financial whiz to start doing this for yourself. Because the 1% isn't out here picking specific stocks like it's the Olympics of investing. They're all just buying into the same index funds that we all have access to. Simple, low-cost investments that automatically spread your money across hundreds of companies. Just think about it like this. Instead of betting your whole paycheck on a single company, just buy a slice, a little piece of the biggest companies. Think Apple, Amazon, Google, McDonald's, you name it, you own a slice. It's automatic diversification of risk, meaning that even if one of the companies starts to go under, your whole investment can never crash. And then there's the real magic, time. The longer your money sits in the market, the more it starts to compound, meaning that your returns start to earn you even more returns. Think of a snowball rolling downhill, just getting bigger with zero extra effort. And that's why the 1% invests consistently, automatically, and month after month, even when the market starts to get ugly. Because they know that wealth isn't built by timing the market. It's built by time in the market. And now you know it too. Now I'd say we have a pretty good understanding of investing. So let's move on to the next step. Let's talk about something that the 1% have that most people don't. And no, I'm not talking about the private chefs or the closets the size of your apartment. I'm talking about the cash cushion, the pile of money that just sits there doing nothing but protecting their peace of mind. Because for most people, life's little surprises, flat tires, a medical bill, or a busted air conditioner aren't just annoying, they're financial emergencies that can throw everything off track. And without a cushion, those surprises force you into some pretty bad situations like maxing out your credit card, asking your family for money, or just straight up panicking. But the 1%, they treat those surprises like minor inconveniences because they have cash set aside specifically for this type of chaos. We're talking about your emergency fund. And if you're watching this without one, well, consider this your sign to start one. Today, the goal is to save up at least 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenses. Think rent, utilities, car payments, just all the stuff you can't skip. This way, if you lose your job, your car breaks down, or your landlord feels like rent should be 30% higher, you have options. You can handle any crisis without swiping your credit card into oblivion. And here's a pretty underrated bonus. You have an emergency fund like this, it gives you some real confidence. You make better, more rational decisions when you're not one paycheck away from disaster. Trust me. You can negotiate better pay when you apply for jobs, avoid those shady side hustles your friends tell you about, and stop losing sleep over your bank balance. Let me give you a pro tip though. Keep your money in a high-yield savings account so that you can have easy access to it, but you still get to earn a little bit of interest off of it. Because remember, if you want to start managing your money like the 1%, never let your money work less than you do. The 1% knows that wealth isn't about having money, it's all about having options. You're almost there. Are you ready for the final step? It's going to start with busting one of the biggest myths in personal finance right now. Because the 1% that we're talking about didn't get rich cutting out lattes. Let me explain. You probably heard the whole, if you would skip your daily coffee, then you would retire a millionaire thing a million times. But let's be real. Do you think that the 1% don't go to Starbucks every day? To be honest, they probably go somewhere even pricier. Because the truth is that the 1% aren't obsessing over $4 purchases. They focus on big wins, the stuff that actually moves the needle. That's the difference. Average people try to penny pinch their way to real wealth. While the 1%, they zoom out and ask themselves questions like, is my rent eating half my paycheck? Did I finance a car I can't really afford yet? Am I upgrading my lifestyle every time I get a raise at work? Because those are the types of spending decisions that will end up making or breaking you. Not the random impulse candy bar at the checkout, I hope. It's the $3,000 a month apartment you could never really afford in the first place. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the 1% don't spend money. Far from it. They just spend more intentionally. They absolutely drop cash on things that make their lives better, like experiences, travel, hobbies, and high-quality stuff. But they don't waste a cent trying to impress people when they can't. The key is knowing the difference between spending your money for value and spending for status. Value means you actually use and enjoy the things you're buying, whereas status means you just bought it to look a certain way to a certain group of people, even if it kind of stresses you out. If you really want to manage your money like the 1%, focus on cutting big, wasteful, pointless expenses, not the little joys that make life fun, because the goal isn't to live like a monk. It's to design a life you can actually afford and love living. So here's the real truth of it all. Managing your money, like the 1%, has nothing to do with luck, inheritance, or some secret stock selection superpower. It's about having a simple system and actually sticking to it. The 1% don't drift into wealth, they set up guardrails. Guardrails that are just rules they follow no matter how much they make, so that every dollar they earn is working towards something bigger. They divide their income on purpose so that they're always saving, investing, and protecting themselves from the chaos that will always find you. They pay themselves first so that they never have to rely on leftover money to fund their future. They invest consistently in simple, boring things that anyone can invest in. Because as we all know, wealth is built by time, not perfect timing. They build emergency funds so that they never get stuck in a position where they have to make a desperate move, no matter how messy life gets. And they always spend on purpose. Not to flex, but to fund the life they actually enjoy. The best part of this whole system, none of it is complicated. Whether you make $40K or $400K, the principles remain the exact same. The 1% didn't wait until they were rich to start doing this. Most of them actually got rich because they started doing this. And now, you've got the exact same playbook. The only question left is, are you actually going to use it and start managing your money like the 1%? If you're serious about building wealth and doing it in a stress-free way that is actually fun, hit the like button and subscribe. Your money is waiting. Time to put it to work.